What's up, guys? Before we get started here, I just want to point everyone in the direction of the KRW network. On that channel, we're going to be talking about literally anything, not just Saw content, American Horror Story, and everything else that I cover on this channel, but literally going through the gauntlet, doing lists, theories, speculations, pitches, and just everything else every Monday and Thursday, as well as other discussion videos and maybe more content as that channel grows. We're very excited for it, so I hope everybody will go and share their love and support. You can find the link in the description section below. Go subscribe and share that channel out because we're very excited for it. Anyway, with that being said, here's the video. What's up, guys? So today I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to address something that I briefly covered in my last video with American Horror Story, where I updated everyone that season 10 is definitely going to start filming in October of this year. Now, I'm sure I don't have to tell people why season 10 took this long to film. Obviously, with everything going on with COVID-19, not only in our day-to-day lives, but how it's impacted everything, including the way they film movies and television. It's obvious and was previously announced that we're not getting any American Horror Story content this year. For me, I kind of take that as pretty disappointing. One of the things I was kind of cheerleading at the very beginning of all this was, what if they just got together and did some kind of a 90-minute movie set within the American Horror Story world? Not something where you would have to get a lot of people together, but maybe just do something a little bit more akin to Unfriended, where they did all of it through some kind of a Skype call. That way, maybe you could just set up something very small. You don't have to put a lot of people in danger and do it very safely, but we would at least get some content from this series this year. Plus, FX, Fox, Disney, whoever would have a surefire hit for the fall when everyone is still stuck inside. Of course, I'm probably one of the very small group of people who is saying ever since March that the year is essentially done and we're not going to be able to do or see anything real new throughout the rest of 2020. With that being said, though, I think all of this does raise a very interesting question, in that how much American Horror Story content are we going to get for 2020? It would seem rather obvious that we're going to be getting season 10 sometime next year, because even if it does start filming in October, there's no way that they can have it out before the end of the year. It's going to take at least 2 or 3 months, and all of that is just pending whether or not everyone stays safe and they don't have to shut down due to COVID reasons. And honestly, let's hope that that's the case, because Ryan Murphy himself has said that one of the reasons they need to get this season done is because it's fairly weather dependent. And because all the teasing with the beach and sea atmosphere, it would really seem that they need to finish this all up before winter hits and it screws up everything that they're filming. So theoretically, the earliest that we might be able to see this season is March of next year, when everything is completely done and it's ready to show people. Of course, that would raise the question, are they going to release it in spring? Are they going to release it in summer? And how will season 11 be affected by this? Now, I guess you can just easily say that season 10 will be put in season 11's spot and we'll just go from there, with season 11 being pushed back and we'll get it in 2022, and then everything will be copacetic until we reach the end of the 13 season order. But again, that does bring me back to the way that Ryan Murphy chooses the content in which to film for each individual season. He's gone on record to say that he's made it a tradition to pick one of 2 ideas to do for the very next season at a specific time near the end of the year. And while it is possible that he can do that, that time isn't here yet. And I'm wondering, with all of the projects that he's doing recently and everything that he has lined up for this series, whether he's just going to let that time period or deadline slide this year and just decide it next year for 2022 with season 11, or if he's going to push himself and he'll work out a deal with FX where they're going to release season 10 in the spring of 2021 and then season 11 in the fall, where American Horror Story usually lives and thrives. And one of the reasons I say that too is it's very important to remember the landscape in which we have these days with COVID and filming projects altogether. One of the things that's come up very recently is how movie studios are gearing up to do not one, but 2 big projects at a time for major franchises, not to save money, but to protect themselves for any future situations such as this, be it another thing that stops production altogether or maybe just a second round of COVID. We saw that with the recent news that Lionsgate is going to be filming John Wick 4 and 5 back to back, as well as Netflix kind of boasting off the fact that they filmed The Kissing Booth 2 and 3 back to back before all of this hit, guaranteeing them a huge success for 2021. And I would imagine that Ryan Murphy and his team definitely have ideas for season 11, and because of the continued fanfare that American Horror Story continues to get, as well as the reliance for reliable content, it makes sense to me that they might work out a deal where if they finish season 11 sometime at the very beginning of 2021, then they just go ahead as planned for the production that would have been season 11 to give us a second helping of American Horror Story in the fall of 2021 after releasing season 10 in April. Plus, all of this is in addition to the recently confirmed spin-off for the American Horror Story brand entitled American Horror Stories, which, at least here in the States, will be premiering on Hulu exclusively. Now, we don't know anything about this show when it's going into production at this point, or whether we're even going to see it next year, but logic would tell us that this would also be filming sometime during the events of early 2021. And given the different media culture surrounding streaming networks instead of just live cable viewership, I would imagine it's fairly comfortable to release this content whenever they want and however they want. So theoretically, they can release this sometime during the summer before leading up to the fall of 2021 for season 11 of American Horror Story. Again, all of this is just speculative, but I wonder if it's possible that we're going to be getting season 10 of American Horror Story sometime in March or April of this next year leading into the summer months, then American Horror Stories throughout the summer, and then season 11 of American Horror Story in its usual spot in the fall, giving us 3 whole seasons of the show and several weeks to talk about it. It's crazy, but it isn't outside of the realm of possibility. If I had to flip a coin and make a guess, and just for kind of gambling purposes, I'd imagine that they would just allow season 10 to go into its normal fall spot, and we're going to be getting American Horror Stories on Hulu sometime in the early part of the year or during the summer, or maybe just to close out the year. So we'll get 2 seasons probably most definitely, but 3 seasons isn't outside of the realm of possibility, especially when you're looking at how much they're going to have to put out there in order to make up for the losses that they've seen this year. So all of this is just very speculative. I'm going to leave it at that. I hope everyone has enjoyed the video. Share your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below, and we're definitely going to be talking about more American Horror Story as the time goes on. It's been real.